So after 3 years of having 2 cameras set up, mentioning Sony a6100 and this DJI Osmo Action, yeah, I know the first generation Osmo, it has been serving me well, and I'm still going to use this setup. But today we're adding another camera that I think will complement the trinity of my setup. So let's unbox it. And this is the Sony ZVE10. Manuals in the actual camera itself. So inside we got a sling for the camera, you know, if you like to use those. I never used one in my a6100, not a fan of it. Charger, which is the typical Sony one, I still own mine. The wind dead cat thing that you can put into the hot shoe, I believe. Yep. Battery, NPFW50, of course, very familiar because I'm using one right now. Data cable, and yes, here it is. Wow, it's so new. Okay, here it is. Look at this smaller cousin. It really looks like my camera right now, the a6100, but look at this. Except that, look at that, it flips. Look at this. I've never, oh, this is the first time I'm gonna see it in Sony cameras. I'm so stoked right now. Look at this, it doesn't feel like Sony. Because my a6100 right now is flipping up, like going up like this, but this articulates. This is one of the reasons why we bought it. But man, it is very light, very small camera. I'm telling you that right now. This is my iPhone 12 Pro Max. Look how small the camera is. This is one of the main reasons that I bought the ZVE10 versus the other ZV1 and the ZV1F, mainly because of the form factor and the interchangeable lens. Look at this. You can literally change lens, use the lens that I'm using right now, but man, so far initial reaction for this, wow, very small. It's plastic. Let's not get excited because, you know, it's an entry-level mirrorless camera designed for vloggers, but definitely this is just a regular camera, not even a vlogger's camera. I said that because there's no in-body image stabilization, which is built in like the G85. I used to own that before jumping ship on the Sony a6100 3 years ago, but that's old story. But this is, we're gonna compare how it will pan out. So what we got right now, for the first time, we are shooting at the ZVE10. Now there's a little stuff that you're gonna need to adjust if you're coming from the A6000 family, which is the bigger cousin of the ZVE10. I'm gonna give this a quick hit. So I'm designing it right now to the Joby tripod, and I'm using the dedicated microphone that's clipped on top of this camera. So this is how it sounds with the internal audio on the studio environment. So initially right now, I'm gonna try to see what I can come up with vlogging in this camera. And we are walking on the hallway. I know it's dark. I know it's still dark. And come back up. We are using auto ISO right now. Currently shooting at 1 and 1/25 of a second, f3.5. And so far, you know, it's the kit lens, which is I like because it's compact. I'm gonna pair my Sigma 16mm But right now, man, I'm just, ooh, it's spot on. The focusing of Sony is just different level. When you notice it, when you zoom in on your face, black background blurs, and there's a button here. They said it's designed for vloggers to blur the background, and let's activate that here. I don't know if you can see it. Does it? Deactivate. Gotcha. Activate. It will literally say it in the monitor. But as far as that, I hope the audio is gonna be good in this one. Not a whole lot. I'm not expecting a whole lot. But you know what? It's kind of windy outside, and it's still winter here in Baltimore because daylight saving time is already kicked in. But March 20th is the actual spring break. Let's adjust the shutter speed. I should be better. I should be better. This is going to be the dead cat. Hopefully you can hear me properly. Not expecting a whole lot in this. And yup. It's kind of windy. You can see the net. It's literally moving. It's moving. You can see it. Blown out right now. But yeah, I think we'll find out if this is going to be useful. So far, I'm shooting at 1080p with 120 frames per second because that's what I want to set up with. I really like the 120 frames per second feature of this camera. That's one of the main reasons why I bought this. And I'm still getting used to seeing a Sony with the flip screen beside it. I'm still kind of not used to it, but whew, let's go back to the studio. So what we have right now, guys, is I have set up the camera according to my preference, and also I have the picture profile for HLG3 BTT, something like that. Basically what it does is it makes the picture profile kind of flat. It's like kind of grayish. That way when you post process it, it can enhance and pop more colors, and you have basically more control on the saturations, contrast, and it really depends on if you put LUTs in it or if you have your own or you purchase for your applications, then you can apply it in there. But that's what it does. It makes it more lively. And also we have set up the microphone for the Rode Video Mic Pro. And we're gonna run this through Catalyst Browse for stabilizing. Final thoughts on this camera, guys. Now, after putting some time with the ZVE10, it's very easy to use. Maybe because that contribution of, I know I'm a previous owner of Sony, and I'll be honest with you, the Sony menu system isn't the greatest of them all. I believe G85 is way ahead, or the Lumix G85 that I used to own is much better. But that being said, I've been owning a A6000, A6100, like what we're using right now, and the ZVE10. That makes it easy to adopt. But other than that, it might take you 20-30 times before you get used to the menu system. Again, menu system, not so great. However, I'd like to discuss some pros and cons, and there's a lot to be discussed here, guys. First, amazing things on this camera, the pros, as focused on content creator, podcasting, and videographers' perspective. Okay, let's hone in on that department. First pro is the flip screen. Voila. Actually, Sony listened to their users. They provided a flip screen for their cameras now. I know 3 years ago I bought my 6100 A6400, they're amazing camera. Till this day, they got that flip top right there. Other than that though, man, it gets way if you put a microphone in it on the top of the camera, and if you have this wind screen or a dead cat, man, you barely see anything on the screen. Now that presents a couple of problems, which mentioning levels, you can't see it. At least you have something visually to see if your levels are correct, or if you're recording, big deal. This eliminated that problem. Amazing. Thank you, Sony, for releasing that on a budget-friendly camera, because I've seen Sony's higher ends only has that flip screen on the side, but $800 flip screen on the side, amazing. Second is size. Guys, this is so small. It's the smallest mirrorless camera that I have ever owned for the past 5 or 6 years. And if you like a brand loyalist, you can get the Sony 11mm 1.4. It's smaller than this one, and depending how big your pocket is, if you wear skinny jeans, it's not gonna fit in there. Well, it's gonna be bulging, but it's going to literally fit in your pocket if you have that smaller lens, and call it a day. Third one, lens flexibility. Unlike its cousins, the ZVE10, ZVE10F, it has a built-in lens. This has a interchangeable lens, which is amazing. Voila. We know that image quality relies on the lens, and it's amazing that you can put different types of lens, Sony's, third parties, Sigmas, Tamrons, or any Viltrox. There's plethora of lens available for this camera. Fourth, autofocusing is just spot on. Strictly videographer's perspective, it is amazing. 427 sensors, very new autofocusing sensors. It's just amazing. Simply the newest one in Sony lineup. It's insane. Tracking capability changed the game for videographers, and for the price point, introductory price for this, it is just on a league of its own. Tracking is insane. No one can beat Sony. That's the reason why I jumped ship from Lumix, which has lens stabilization and in-body stabilization, but it doesn't have that focusing like Sony, and it's very important to me if you run and gun, if you're doing such things as reviews or podcasting. I love focusing, so I gave that up. Focusing, Sony owns it. Fifth, picture profile. Picture profile for some is somewhat kind of gimmicky, but if you ask me, owning the 6100 for 3 years now, I did adjust the contrast to negative and saturations, because there are levels that you can adjust that. Picture profile for this makes it a little bit more easier to understand on the post-process side. Basically, I picked the HGL3 BTT 2020. The reason being is that it's so flat. Now, if you extract that file and put it into post-processing, you have a little bit more fidelity of adjusting those tones, those contrasts, those saturations, and it gives you a little bit more freedom. At the end result is much more amazing. Other than that, those are some a little bit more advanced settings, but if you don't like those, there's some prefabs in here. Picture Profile 1, basically Sony put it in there just for your, easy pickings, and other than that, it's just amazing. Picture Profile is definitely a must. 120 frames per second. Oh my God. Officially, I'm in a 120 frames per second club, owning the ZVE10. Imagine if you shoot 3 years ago, 60 frames per second to slow down those, slow motion B-rolls. I had never achieved the smoothness that I like. Owning this for a couple of days changed it. So imagine the creativity that you can put into your B-roll. You can deliver more content on a more dramatic way, or shall we say, if you shoot sports or automobile or anything in that nature, having the flexibility of shooting 120 frames per second changed it. And I never imagined paying $800, below $1,000, on a camera that can shoot 120 frames per second, being Sony as well. It's just amazing. And to throw a little bit more curveball, I like the fact that there is a light in there. See this light? This light is an indicator that you are actually recording. Now, I know it's a flip screen, you can see, you know, the stuff in here and the side, but as a videographer for run and gun situation, it is most comforting if you see that you are actually recording. Because I had instances in the past that I thought I hit recording and lo and behold, it wasn't recording. So that light is amazing. Now, all the amazing stuff in here, man, I'm not gonna mention because those are, I think, the most important ones. Also, the mic, the built-in mic in here with the dead cat on top, it's acceptable. But if you have a chance, if you have those, you know, video micro or external shotguns, the small ones, just go get those. It's just way more quality that it can bring, and it's just simply amazing. Also, guys, I'd like to mention that this has a mic port and a headphones port directly. That way you can monitor how it sounds, and it's just that feature that you will pay more on a camera, not on a under $1,000 camera. I'm mentioning 800 bucks. It's available here. Now we're going to the cons. I'm gonna nitpick. This is a plastic camera. I know my A6100 is a plastic, but this A6100, I believe there's a mixed match of plastic and some parts of magnesium inside, but this one feels like a point and shoot, plainly plastic. Other than that, man, amazing it is, it's very plastic. That's why I put this, you know, small rig cage. That way it offers a little bit more protection and, you know, a little bit more stability because it's plastic. Other than that, it's still amazing. Second cons that I do not like is this on and off button. Oh my God, Sony, what did you do? On my A6100, it's like in the zoom part of it, the on and off button for the A6100 located here. This one is on top. And I feel like every time I turn it on, I'm gonna break it. Listen. Every time I turn on and off, I feel that click. And I wonder what's the lifespan of this button, because I feel like it's not gonna last long. Sometimes I think leaving it in on just to, you know, save some clicks. But other than that, I really dislike that on and off button. It feels so cheap when you click it. Curveball catch. Third cons that I do not like. For the love of God, please, if you know where to find the mic meter that can display in the LCD screen, please put a comment in there, because I cannot find in my manual. I Googled it, I YouTube it, I cannot find it. My A6100 is like 3-4 years old. I can see the mic level right there running 2 channels, even though it doesn't have a built-in mic. This one I cannot find. So please, if you know where to find it, put it in a comment. Last but not the least, there are no viewfinders for this camera. If you are a photographer, do not buy this camera. I repeat, do not buy this camera. Why I said that? You do not want to rely on viewfinding via the LCD screen. I know you have that 1x focusing, you can change the colors, which I set mine on red, meaning you can look at the LCD screen and it's recording and it's focusing when it shines red. But if you're a photographer, man, you got to put your eyes in it, because you don't want to trust it on an LCD screen. This is not even that high resolution and it's so small, I wouldn't put or bet my life in it. If you're a videographer, this is amazing. For a photographer, do not buy this camera. Now, there are things that I would wish that they put in this one. My would-be perfect scenario is in-body image stabilization. However, Sony has a software called Catalyst Browse that crops a bit of the file itself to remove those shakiness. So they have some kind of a codec or hardware that's placed on newer cameras to communicate with the Catalyst Browse and act as a stabilization method. But you know, you're gonna spend extra steps for that one. It does not work on older A6100 cameras like mine. it did not detect those image stabilization, although I have almost a similar setting in it. So my presumption is they have some kind of a program that's put for newer cameras only. So Catalyst Browse is the one that they compensate for the, you know, image stabilization thing. Overall though guys, for the price, this is an amazing content creator camera. It is not perfect, but there are always workaround for an $800 camera. You get so much on this small pack. The AI autofocusing is just amazing. 421-point sensor. The phase in the material detection, they have this thing in here. I think it's kind of like somewhat gimmicky, but I know probably software has something to contribute in it. 6K resolution, down sample to 4K, meaning it shoots on a higher 6K resolution. Putting it into 4K is just that quality, and it's under $1,000. You cannot beat that one. Picture profiles, flip screen, 120 frames per second, and we can go on and go forward. It's just amazing. I mean, I know it's missing a magnesium alloy, all-weather sealed stuff on a camera, but as far as I remember shooting photos and videos for 16 years, I've never shoot in the rain. I have no plans going out there and shooting in the rain. I mean, National Geographic stuff and all that. I like to watch documentaries in the TV, but I don't think I'm gonna do that anytime soon. I'm happy to sit out on that feature. I don't have to pay for features that I will never use. Once again, you know, I'd rather invest something in the lens or light or something to improve the stuff. But other than that, I do not miss that, you know, weather sealing in this one. The plug and play feature directly to the PC is big for streamers, for gamers, you know. It's a huge plus for them because it's basically making this camera, turning it into a webcam with a Sony features inside. It's crazy. You literally save hundreds of dollars for hardware costs for a decent setup that can communicate. It's plug and play. It's basically a webcam, and it's amazing. Now, overall, we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Who is this camera designed for? I would confidently say that this camera is designed for users that is willing to learn a process. In other words, advanced beginners. Why not beginners? Because there would be features in this camera that you need to process, like stabilizing the finished product. So it takes a lot of extra steps in your post-process in your computer. So it will take a lot more time. If you translate that annually, yeah, that would be a lot of time, you know. I mean, you know, shaky things, the jello effect. If you're a run and gun type person, then this is not the one. This is just lacking in that department. But the price point is $800. You cannot have it all. It's just not possible to put that extra in there. And if you want to go on that route, you would want to check out the A6600, which has magnesium body alloy and Ibis built into the camera. Now, if you want to go on that route, I would rather get an Osmo Action 2 or a GoPro and shoot on a nicely lit day and call it a day. It's just that, you know, difference. But for $800, the features in this one is just crazy. The ZVE10, however, is not a vlogger's camera. They label it as a blogger's camera, but that is, you know, the missing factor. That Ibis is big, because I had my Lumix G85. It's amazing, but the focusing is just atrocious. I cannot take it anymore. Other than that, no built-in Ibis. The rolling shutter is ridiculous. The jello effect, you know, the jello effect when you do this, it jiggles like this, and it's just I don't want to watch that. It makes my head hurt. That's why I said this is not a vlogger's camera, but it can be with some extra step. That's why I called it advanced beginners. I'm sorry, but that's just how I want to put it in there. However, this camera is in a league of its own for advanced beginners. You get so much for what you paid for in this camera. Sony did an amazing job on focus tracking. The product tracking is just amazing. The picture profile is definitely, I never imagined spending $800 and getting a camera that can shoot 120 frames per second. It's just spoiled department in this era. But as a videographer, this is a wild deal, And overall, I highly recommend this camera. If you have a friend, check them out, borrow it, don't take it home, just check them out. It's just an amazing camera. But guys, thank you for watching. I hope I was able to help out. Always remember, click that like and subscribe button for contents like this. This is your main boy. Peace out.